What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Prime Sports World and college football showdown presented by Prime Sports World. My fault, guys. I'm your host, Israel Rivera-Nichols, my main man from the Daily Blitz.blog, Christian Simpson, here with us for week 3 of college football. I can't believe we're on week 3. But before we start, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World on all streaming platforms and catch us where you can hear all podcasts. But Christian, we're on week 3. Season feels like it's going by fast. What's going on, my man?
Oh man, doesn't it always seem like it goes fast after week 1? You wait for it for months and months and months, and then once it gets here, it always just flies by.
Always flying by, man. It's pretty crazy how we're already on week 3 and shit. That's coming up on us in less than 24 hours or more. Yeah, less than 24 hours here, and then followed by big fight night. Canelo and Terrence Bud Crawford here at the nighttime. But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully, we get some knockout punches here because we got a couple SEC heavyweights going at it this week. A couple good matchups this week, and can't wait to break them down with my guy here. Hopefully, Matt James comes on the show as well. But anyways, going into the week 2 headlines, and we'll start with the main headline, which is Oklahoma defeating Michigan 24-13. Christian broke this one down last week. This was his main game of the week here. Shameless plug, as he always does. He dropped this one. You dropped this one an hour before, right? Game day, correct? Yes, sir. And so in this one, man, look, man, hey, Oklahoma looked very good. John Mateer looked incredible. 21-34 touchdown, 1 interception. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground for 74 yards. As Bryce Underwood, 9-24, 142 yards. Justin Haynes, 19 carries, 125 yards. As he continues to impress this season. And you also had Deion Burks, who cool story from Deion Burks. He wasn't recruited by Michigan. I believe I'm not sure if he was from the state of Michigan. He is from the state of Michigan. Wasn't recruited by Michigan. So it's ironic that he has one of his best games of the year against Michigan. Christian, break this one down. How did Michigan lose? What happened to Michigan in this game?
Well, it was the play calling. And, Izzy, we've talked about this off the microphone because we talk on a regular. And, I said these head coaches are going to have to put a little bit of faith into these young quarterbacks. You have them on the field for a reason, but open up the playbook. And it was just a lot of dink and dumps. Too conservative, and Oklahoma just pretty much had a day off. They knew what was coming. I really like what Justice Haynes brings to the table. Um, but nah, let this kid spin the ball down the field. Because if he can do that, Michigan, I think, will be in a really good position. But this was a tough game. You're going down to Norman. You're going to face a Brent Venables led the coach defense. He's always been really good against young freshman quarterbacks, dating back to his days as defensive coordinator at Clemson. But yeah, I mean, Michigan, they just weren't up for it. Couldn't move the ball down the field defensively. And I got to give Oklahoma a lot of credit. This was my first time seeing John Mateer play. Is he? And my biggest takeaway was, I think he can be a really good quarterback, but I think he'll be better if they give him a running game that complements his skill set. Because there's no way he should be a leading rusher and your leading passer. And you've heard me say that before about other quarterbacks in the past.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. You got to open up the playbook. Michigan's head coach, Sherrod, God,
Sharon
help
Moore.
me. Sharon Moore. He said he's about to get a 2-game suspension from the allegations from before. So that was already they already knew that was going to happen. But yeah, he just didn't open up the playbook for Bryce Underwood last week. Pretty much, like I said, they had the running game going. Justice Haynes was getting it going. They were getting whatever they wanted on the run on the ground game. But when it got into 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7 situations, even like 1st and 10, where you want to take shot plays, they weren't doing it. I mean, when you're averaging under 6 yards a pass or completion for Bryce Underwood, that means you're not opening up the playbook, and he's too talented for them to not open up the playbook. With him, I mean, you got to utilize his athletic ability. You got to utilize that strong arm that he has. He broke Michigan state Michigan records for a reason. He's the best quarterback in the nation for a reason. You got to let him open it up a little bit, but I think they played it safe because that guy across the field, right, Brent Venables, in that defense, right. It's kind of they didn't want to bait Bryce Underwood into mistakes. If they got too aggressive, switching up coverages on them and stuff like that, as we saw with against with Ohio State earlier, against with Arch Manning against Ohio State earlier in the season, right? So it's one of those things, and Bryce and Arch Manning's a junior, right? So Bryce Underwood, they kind of played it safe, and they just didn't want to. They thought that they could, kind of use their defense against Jean Mateer. But how impressive was that kid, right, man? 270 yards. He had complete control of the offense. I mean, he looks like a clear dual threat. I love that arm. He's got a live arm. You know what I mean? He can get outside the pocket. He can make plays with his feet. And if he continues to play like this, man, Oklahoma's going to be a dangerous team. Come mid-season to late in the season, especially as they rack up those wins. I know the SEC play is going to be something different for John Mateer coming from Washington State, but I think that he's under with the talent that they have. I mean, look at Deion Burks. I mean, he looked fantastic. You know what I mean? Against Michigan, he looks like to be the clear #1 target for them. So I think if they continue to progress, I think Oklahoma is going to be one of the teams come playoff time. That possibly could sneak in as an at-large. I don't think they can win the SEC this year, but I think they can be a player when it comes to being, one of those at-large teams that makes the playoffs. So
you mentioned the SEC, and man, it's to me the two best teams in the SEC right now are Georgia and LSU. I like what I see from both of them, and I know we'll probably talk about Georgia a little bit more very shortly. LSU,
yeah,
this I think is the best team that Brian Kelly has had since coming down to Baton Rouge. Texas, I think we'll learn more about them come SEC play, and I think we'll learn more about this Oklahoma team come SEC play as well. Izzy,
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. I think we'll see a lot coming out of all these teams, but we'll see how it happens. Oklahoma has a tougher schedule down the stretch, so we'll see how it goes once they get into the nitty gritty of the SEC. But anyways, moving forward to the next game on the slate, we have Mississippi State with the upset at home against Arizona State here late against number 12 Arizona State. And Mississippi State just looked very good. Sam Levitt, who we all raved about before the season, looked very pedestrian. 10 of 22, one touchdown, two interceptions. As you saw that difference in speed gap, right, with Arizona State and Mississippi State. I mean, it looked like night and day as they were flying. Mississippi State was flying all over the field against them. Blake Shapen, 279 yards, three touchdowns for Mississippi State. And their leading receiver was Brennan Thompson. He had 6 catches for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns, a couple of long balls too as well. Jordan Tyson on the other end had a touchdown for Arizona State, as well as Raleek Brown. He had 18 carries for 110 yards to lead them. But thoughts on this game? This was a big win for Jeff Lebby in the Jeff Lebby era, right? He was the old offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. And he was, this guy was 2-10 last year. This is a big win for the program for Mississippi State. We all know how terrible they were last season, but big win for Mississippi State against the ranked opponent at home.
Yeah, it really was. And this just goes to show you that anybody can be beat any Thursday, any given Thursday, any given Friday, any given Saturday, any given Sunday, any given Monday night. And you pretty much summed it up really well, Izzy. Mississippi State got what they wanted. Defensively, they got what they wanted, when they wanted, and how they wanted to. Flying to the ball, putting a lot of pressure on Sam Levitt. And how many times have I said to you, either on the NFL edition of the Prime and College Football Showdown, getting after the quarterback doesn't always mean sacking him. Impacting his pocket and making him hesitate before he could throw the ball. And I saw a lot of that. That's what we call quarterback hurries and quarterback pressures. Yeah, I want to see how Arizona State goes back to the drawing board because they're a favorite to win the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They are a favorite to win the Big 12. I mean, this was I want to say this is kind of a one-off. This is a tough game, right? This is like a trap game. So SEC school, you're going into a hostile environment early in the season. I saw a difference in speed between both teams. I saw a difference in fight in the trenches. I think Mississippi State was just more explosive in the trenches. They brought some blitz packages that really, got Sam Levitt off his throws. He just didn't get comfortable in this game, and I think that they'll bounce back pretty well. I think Arizona State, they have Texas State coming up tomorrow. Get back on the get back on the board with Texas State, and then they got to go to Baylor, which is a tough win because Baylor just got a double overtime win just this past week, right, against SMU. So that Baylor team is explosive as well. So you just got to get Texas State is a get right game, kind of get all those wrinkles out, get that confidence back, and get ready for Baylor going into a hostile environment at Baylor. And I think Baylor should probably be up there ranked around the outside of the top 25 this week. I think by next week, that game should be a top 25 matchup between both of those teams.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then the last headline of last week, and it's the biggest shocker, which kind of took the air out of the balloon for this week. But I still think that there's some hot air down there in Gainesville with that matchup against LSU this week. As South Florida upset Florida 18-16 in a nail biter here. Man, I mean, this one I did not have on the drawing board. I totally missed this one. I didn't expect this to happen. DJ Lagway was 23 of 33, a touchdown, one interception. But on the other side, man, I mean, Byron Brown from University of South Florida, 263 yards, one touchdown through the air, but it was his wheels, 66 yards on the ground. But this was just a gutty win for South Florida. They were able to, they got a lot of kids from Florida down in that Miami, that South Florida, Tampa, Miami area. So they got speed too down there in South Florida. I always liked that area to recruit, and they came down in the end and beat Florida in the nail biter here. Your thoughts on this game? As I think they won what on a field goal. Nico Chromatica with the field goal kick, right?
Yeah,
Correct
yeah,
at the end.
yeah. They
Mm-hmm.
won on a field goal. Izzy, what do I always say? Focus on what's in front of you. Don't look
Yep.
ahead. That big opponent is going to be on the schedule, whether you win, whether you lose, or whether you tie the game, man.
Yes, sir.
Quite frankly, I put this on coaching. I just don't think this group wants to play under Billy
No.
anymore. And I think he's as good as gone. If I thought he was going to lose his job.
Should have lost it last year.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get Herm Edwards. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, he was gonna get that fire and Herm
But
Edwards style.
yeah, but give South Florida all the credit in the world, man. They outcoached Florida.
Outcoached is a great word. I
Just saw
like that.
hustle. They just wanted it more. And Florida, a lot of these teams just feel like they can show up because they're the better team and they have the ranking and they're the team with more notoriety. No, that's not how this works. Let's just give a bulletin board material to your opponent. They went and took it, and South Florida definitely went and just snatched the air out of Gainesville. And you and I both know the Swamp is a tough place to play.
Yeah, no, it is, man. And I mean, this is a team, South Florida. They finished, last season 7-6, Boca Raton Bowl. Now they're ranked number 18. So it's interesting to see. They got another big game. We'll talk about that coming up. But they got another big game this week that's going to be on the week's games to watch. But yeah, I mean, Florida, there's no reason why they should have lost this game. I mean, you go up in the fourth quarter, you have to, as a defense, I mean, you have to make stops. And defensively, you can't let South Florida march all the way down the field and get down there to kick that field goal. You got to show your superiority against them. And I like that word outcoached, because Billy Napier's his whole tenure has been, that thing where he's always outcoached. And I don't even know, when it comes to the University of Florida, the excellence, the bar was set by Urban the old head, Urban Meyer and before him.
And then you could also throw Dan Mullen in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's just it's just like, you can't, when it comes to Florida, they have such a rapport of being a great team, football team, that it's like you can't continue to get out coached when it comes down to the X's and O's of this, because when it comes down to it, you're sitting on the throne of a lot of good coaches. You're just gonna come and be like everybody else. You're gonna be, Ron Zook had a couple years, but the bar was set, and I was trying to get to it. The bar was set by Urban Meyer. The bar was set by Steve Spurrier. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are legends. And you're just gonna end up like Randy Shannon. I'm looking at head coaches now. Will Muschamp. You know what I mean? Charlie Strong, Ron Zook. You know what I'm saying? Guys that maybe have had a 1-off, 2-off years and just underwhelmed. And for that program, I mean, look what Urban Meyer took them to, right? Took them to, heights that not even Steve Spurrier took them to, right? And right. Spurrier was an excellent head coach. So yeah, I think DJ Lago, I think this is one of those things where it's like, next week or this week, tomorrow against LSU, it's do or die time. This is ready for Florida to go, and they need a win against LSU. This is they need a win against LSU. Otherwise, I think it's done for. I think their whole season is pretty much a wash, in my opinion. I had national championship aspirations for them. I know they had national championship aspirations, and you're still out there playing like you're a young team when No, you're not a young team. You guys are relatively on defense. I could have used that excuse last year, Christian, where the defense was young, freshmen, sophomores. Now you guys are sophomores, juniors, seniors on that defense. You guys know better. You have another year under your belt. DJ Lagwell has another year under his belt. So to lose to South Florida, to be flat like that and come out is unacceptable. I'm big on Florida last year. I'm big on Florida this year. I think they can get it done. But against South Florida, that's a game you have to win, and they didn't get it done. So
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm just going to continue to say, I think they would be better suited off with another head coach because Izzy, I play, you play. And the one thing we both come to know is when you want to play for a head coach, you're going to leave everything on the field for that man. And I just don't sense that urgency for Billy Napier. I mean, this is the best team he's had on paper. DJ Lagway, you've been raving about this kid since last year and watching the tape on him. So have I. You remember when we did our little preview show for College Football Showdown? I said Florida could be a dark horse in the SEC, and this is just a disappointing loss. Again, these are the games that you're supposed to win and you're supposed to take care of.
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So yeah, that caps week 2. And as we move into week 3, here goes the top 25 here on the slate as LSU moves up all the way. They're still at number 2, and Penn State is at number 3 here. University of Miami moves into the top 5 at number 4, and Oregon's at number 5. This might be the coaches poll here that I might have put up there, or just the college football, CBS Sports Rankings. It's not actually the AP Top 25. My bad, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, AP Top 25 is Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Oregon, Miami's at number 5. I got the wrong rankings up there, guys. So just bear with me. I'm going to count it out right now. Georgia's at number 6, 7 Texas, number 8 Notre Dame. Illinois moves up 2 slots, and Florida State moves into the top 10, moving up 4 slots from last week. They just look dominant this year. Thoughts on Florida State going from unranked all the way to top 10 status in just a couple weeks here?
I love what I'm seeing from them. They're balanced offensively, but Tommy Castellanos, he gives them a completely different – he brings an added dimension to this offense where he can beat you from the pocket, he can make a throw on the run, and then he can beat you with his legs. He's cut from that Kyler Murray cloth. Is he? Like he
absolutely
him a little bit. Defensively, they're playing with a sense of urgency. They're keeping those safeties back. They're playing tight coverage underneath. That front 4 is getting home without having to blitz. They'll blitz when they want, but they don't do it all the time. And they're playing hard. They're playing hard. They're leaving everything on the field for Mike Norvell. And man, it just seems like Tommy has given this entire team a spark, and they fed off his energy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Tammy Kessler. I like that comparison of Kyler Murray. I think he's not the thrower of the football that Kyler Murray is, but I think he's the playmaker that Kyler Murray is. I like him to he looks like a old school like Tommy Frazier from Nebraska, one of those smaller quarterbacks that. I took it way back. Yeah. I took it way back. Tony, what's his name? I want to say, golly, oh fuck, he's killing me. But anyways, from Notre Dame, like he just looks like one of those guys that can run around shit. Even like a Doug Flutie type a quarterback, right? Doug Flutie, and I'm taking it back, Jack. But yeah, he's a guy that can run around, make plays. With his legs and sometimes with his arms. And then we got Oklahoma moving up 5 slots into the top 15 at number 13. John Mateer taking him to another level. And then moving up 7 slots at number 15, we got Tennessee, 14 Iowa State, and then Tennessee at number 15. Thoughts on Tennessee? They continue to climb the ranks. They got a big game against Georgia. We'll get to it here in a second. But they essentially swap quarterbacks, right? Nico Iamaleava goes over to UCLA, and they get I think it's Joey Aguilar or
Joey Aguilar. Nah,
Yeah, Joe. Yep.
look. I like what I'm seeing from Tennessee because they play with balance and they want to turn games into a track meet, but they can ugly games up if they want to. Me personally, like the weapons are there. They complement Joey very well. You know, they're playing good defense. And ever since Josh Heupel became the head coach at Tennessee, they've always had run and gun offenses. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even 2022 with Hendon Hooker. I thought Hendon Hooker was on his way by me to being
Yeah.
a candidate. And he unfortunately gets hurt. Um, like Tennessee made the playoffs last year, and I think they're just looking to build off of that. Like, okay, we made the playoffs, but what can we do to get back to remain relevant? And like you said, they have a big game tomorrow, but with the dogs coming to town.
Yeah, absolutely. Big game tomorrow. And then at number 16, we got Texas A&M. Big game against Notre Dame. At number 17, Ole Miss. And then moving up 15 slots right into the top 25 is South Florida at number 18. We talked about they got a big matchup with Miami. We'll get to that soon. And then we got number 19, Alabama, moving up a couple slots as they creep up back into the top 20. And Utah, who is a team that moves up 5 slots into the top 20. They're a team that's gonna compete with Arizona State in the Big 12 for Big 12 supremacy. So watch out for Utah. They have a nice mobile quarterback as well there. And then at number 21, we got Texas Tech, Indiana, still in the top 25. They're destroying Indiana State right now. And then we got Michigan, Auburn, and Missouri. Missouri actually moves up into the top 25 after starting out the season 2-0, and Arizona State actually drops out of the top 25,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy after losing to Mississippi State. So that's your AP top 25 for week 3. And we move into week 3 games to watch as you guys all love to hear our thoughts on. And the first game that we got on the slate is number 16 Texas A&M going into South Bend, Indiana, to face the number 8 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Or this is my game. This is hopefully this game. Yeah, no, this game is in Notre Dame in South Bend. Yes, this game is an interesting game. Notre Dame's favored by 6.5 points. Texas A&M from the SEC playing great. I do, like this team when it comes to, quarterback play. I've always raved about Marcel Reed. He's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation, in my opinion. CJ Carr gets another crack at it against Texas A&M or against a highly ranked opponent this week. Your thoughts on this game? Who wins? What happens?
So looking at this game, remember these two met in week 1 last year, and
Yes.
Notre Dame went down there and they punched Texas A&M in the mouth. And College Station,
Yes.
another one of those tough places to come out of with a victory. Like you got to earn it. They're just not going to lay down. Those fans are really going to be into it, and I'm expecting that same type of intensity tomorrow in South Bend because that was a winnable game. I feel for Notre Dame against Miami in week 1, and they're another one where they didn't open up the playbook for CJ Carr. Izzy, you said that, and I agree with you because there were times that he's throwing passes and he's not throwing more than 3 yards. No, let him spin the ball, but most importantly, establish Jeremiah Love and establish Jadarian Price. And this defense has to come ready to play. Look, Howard Cross isn't there anymore. And he was arguably your best player and your most important in that front seven. I do think Notre Dame wins this game. I think they get their first win of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Notre Dame does win this game. They're definitely in South Bend. I think they'll open up the playbook a little bit more with CJ Carr. I think the running game get going with Jeremiah Love and Jadavion Price. I think it's going to be a nip and tuck game. I think Texas A&M is going to bring that defense. Defense travels, man. They're a tough team, but I think Notre Dame will edge it out being at home this week. Next game we got on the slate, ladies and gentlemen, is number 18 South Florida, and they're staying home because they're going in to play number 5 Miami this week. And yes, this game, they're out for blood right here. South Florida, they upset Florida. They're on a Florida tour. They're looking to be the best team in the state of Florida pretty much so far. Only thing they'll have crossed on their list maybe by playoff time is Florida State if they can get this one done against Miami. We talked about South Florida for a little bit. We already know what Miami brings to the table with Carson Beck transfer. He's playing amazing. Mark Fletcher is playing amazing. The whole defense is playing amazing this year for Miami as they're a top 5 team. They look like a real deal, legit championship contending team this year. Thoughts on this game? How can South Florida go in there and get the upset 2 weeks in a row, Christian?
They just have to play their game. Use trick plays, get rid of the ball quickly. But I need to see the South Florida offensive weapons outside of Byron Brown step up because Byron's been your leading passer. He's been your leading rusher. And I'm watching Keyshawn Singleton. He's a 6'3" possession receiver that goes up and gets the ball. He can go over the middle. Yeah, he's going to have to be that guy. And you mentioned a guy who's also my X factor for Miami, Mark Fletcher. He's cut from that James Cook cloth. Kind of runs like him. Not a guy that's going to run you over, but he's a finesse guy. And just imagine if he did run you over. Like, he'd be even scarier, like getting into that second and third tier of the defense. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people expect it to be, but I think Miami does just enough.
6'2", 225. You don't want to feel that at the end of the game. I'll tell you that right now. And another guy that you got to watch out for that we got to pinpoint is Malachi Tony, one of the best freshmen wide receivers. One of the best recruits out of the nation, showing up this year so far for Miami.
I get T.Y. Hilton vibes when I watch Malachi Tony.
Yes,
a guy that can go up and get the ball. And the thing I like about him, and I'm sure he probably learned this from Michael Irvin, he's not afraid to go over the middle. He's not the biggest guy, but you're going to have to make those catches in traffic. And he's done that quite a bit this year. And you also said it best, man. What I'm seeing from Carson Beck, if they continue to get this play from him, Miami's a playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Miami is a playoff team. And defensively, I want to shout out 2 guys, on both ends that are captain that are leaders for them. On the Miami side is Ruben Bain Jr. I mean, he's a guy that is probably going to be a first-round pick type of talent. He's a guy that South Florida is going to have to key in, double team, chip, do whatever they can from getting to the quarterback, from getting to Byron Brown. And then another guy that we got to watch out for is Jalen Shuler. He's one of the better linebackers that's not talked about in the nation. He's a guy that can move sideline to sideline, 6'3", 225. He's got some really good range on him at the linebacker position. He's a guy that's always in on the tackle, defensively. So he's a guy that he's their leading tackler as well. So he's the guy to watch out for when it comes to the South Florida Bulls. And especially in, pass coverage, he's a guy that can, be able to, handle a Mark Fletcher and, able to, fill the gaps. Fill up the gaps in the running lanes, and also be able to cover their pretty talented tight ends that they got there in Miami as well. So watch out for Jalen Shuler this week as well. Next game we got on the slate, and this one took them losing to South Florida took a little air out of the balloon. But you know what? This is still a rivalry game, and we got to talk about it. And this was already written down, circled down on my schedule, on Christian's schedule, and I'm pretty sure I might know what's coming. I hope I know what's coming. Well, we got number 3 LSU going up against Florida and Baton Rouge down there in Death Valley right there. And Christian, what's coming here?
Nothing, because Florida, they deflated this balloon. Seriously.
They deflated it. Oh my God.
They definitely deflated it. But I want to see how Florida bounces back. This is a big game. You're going in to Death Valley under the lights. Like, it's different to go there at nighttime. But man, I just like what I'm seeing from LSU. This is their best team I've seen since 2019. And we all remember what happened that year in 2019. I mean, some guy named, I think you remember him, Joe Burrow. He had two
Yes.
good quality wide receivers in, I don't know, some guy named Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson
Justin Jefferson.
are probably the two best wide receivers in the National Football League now, and just had
Yep.
playmakers across the board defensively. But nah, LSU, I like LSU in this one. I just don't trust Florida. They really let me down last week. We should be doing a shameless plug for this game, Izzy.
We should be doing a shameless plug for this game, but we're not.
But we're not.
Upsetting.
But I like LSU. I think Garrett Nussmeier just continues to play at that high level once again, and I just think this LSU defense is going to be too punishing for Florida.
I agree with how punishing the defense is for LSU. I agree that Florida was outcoached last week. I agree that Garrett Nussmeier is the Heisman favorite, or one of the Heisman favorites, or is the Heisman favorite. I agree on everything Christian just said, but y'all see it down here at the bottom of the screen. Florida is my upset of the week over number 3 LSU. And I think that Florida's going to bounce back. And I'm going to tell you why. That guy, DJ Lagway, is special. I've been a fan since he was in high school. And I'm a fan now. And this grown man hasn't seen a guy like this in a long time. He reminds me a lot of Caleb Williams, how Caleb Williams played at Oklahoma before he went to USC and got all glammed out. Oh, Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? But I like DJ Lagway a lot, man. I think he gives you athleticism at the quarterback position. He's got a strong arm, and he's one of those guys that when he locks in, I mean, he's really hard to beat. They have one of the better running backs too in the SEC, and Jordan Bow as well, or Jaden Bow, I'm sorry, as well. He's a big threat for them. 6'1", 231. He brings the pain. He runs downhill. Caleb Durham, I know Caden Durham is a good running back, nice running back for LSU, but Bow's got a little bit extra in him, in my opinion. I actually like Florida to come out. I know that LSU's got the linebackers. They got Weeks, Harold Perkins Jr. flying all over the field. The defense is playing great, but I like Florida to go in there and play with some damn swag and get the win because they know this is do or die. I think this is a great opportunity for DJ Lagway to show that he is the future of the SEC, and I think that we're in for a wild one here. I think this week. This is a 6:30 game as well, so it's a night game. So you guys better get your popcorn ready, like T.O. say, and go ahead and buckle up. All right, because I think Florida is going to shock some folks down there in Baton Rouge. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. And moving on, and we stay here in the SEC. And I think I know what's coming with this one. Can I get it ready? We got number 6 Georgia going up against number 15 Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee. This one is a 2:30 game. Georgia's favored by 3.5 points. Rivalry game here. And Christian, I'll let you go have this one first here.
Izzy, you know what time it is, baby.
I know what time it is, baby. Let's go.
On my count.
I was ready for it.
1, 2, 3.
Shameless
plug number 1. Man, this is my third time getting the chance to preview this matchup. I previewed it in 2022. I remember talking about it with you and Matt, and I think Matt was the only one to pick Tennessee. I'm like, nah, man. Georgia was a different beast that year. They were when I previewed that matchup in 2022. They were number 1, and they were numbers 1 and 2 in the first set of college football playoff rankings at that time. So it was pretty much, it was a big deal, and somebody wasn't perfect at the end of that game. Previewed it last year, and I thought this was a must-win for Georgia back in Athens. After losing that game to Ole Miss, they got punched in the mouth. How was Georgia going to respond? And one thing I noticed Georgia did in that game, they attacked Tennessee with the tight ends over the middle, and I can see Georgia doing the same thing tomorrow. And everyone's concerned, Georgia didn't look all that great in their week 2 game. The offense didn't look all that great. Here's my thing. Their offense, they're powered by efficiency. So they're going to run the ball. And they're not gonna be a team that's gonna throw the ball for over 400 yards. They could if they wanted to, but that's just not their game, man. Kirby, he's the best coach in the country he's for a reason. Kirby Smart, that is, to everyone else.
Yes.
And then Tennessee, this offense, I mean, they're putting up video game numbers. They're averaging 58 points a game through two
Mm,
games. That is
yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. But this Georgia defense, and we know that's always going to be a staple. This Georgia defense, they're going to come ready to play. Once again, I preview this one an hour before the game. Be on the lookout for it. The Daily Blitz.blog.
Absolutely, guys. You guys don't want to miss that. Christian's article, like you said, drops an hour before the game starts there at 2:30. So 1:30, check out for that article and his pick in that one. With me, I'm gonna pick right now, and I think Georgia is a buzzsaw. I think they're on a revenge tour this year. Gunnar Stockton, this is only his fourth start this in his whole career. In his first true, pretty much road start in his career, going into a hostile environment. It's going to be crazy in Tennessee over there, Rocky Top. But I think Gunnar Stockton. I mean, he's a really good dual threat quarterback. Can run. He ran for 73 yards in his first in the opener. He's thrown for 472 yards and two touchdowns. This year. So I mean, the Gunnar Stockton is a guy that I think is going to be the engine that propels Georgia's offense. And then on the other side, I mean, it doesn't get better than Georgia's secondary is just absolutely phenomenal. Dalen Everett, Zion Branch, KJ Bolden. All of them are just fantastic players. Those are the next wave of guys that will have a great NFL career, in my opinion. I know Christian's probably gonna talk about them. Coming up in Tennessee. Really, they have a great, good wide receiving core led by Chris Brazil, Mike Matthews. Both of them had 100 yards receiving last week. Chris Brazil is really phenomenal. He's 6'5", 200 pounds. I mean, he's a big wide receiver. And so, they are, locked and loaded there in Tennessee with Aguilar throwing that, football. So I think, Tennessee, especially going up against for that secondary, I think they're going to need those two big wide receivers there for Tennessee. Which, like I said, they only have a couple really good guys, and those are the two guys that Georgia's going to key in on. And that's the thing is that when you don't have like many weapons and you have a lot of weapons on that side of the ball for Georgia, I think it's going to be lights. I think they're going to shut down that passing attack from Tennessee that we saw that was very vaunted. One thing that Tennessee does have, they do have a pretty decent running game. But I mean, they're going to have to. Run that football and kind of keep the clock going and kind of set up that passing game because, like I said, Georgia's defense is, one of the best, if not the best defense in college football right now. I think they're going to buzzsaw right through the SEC, in my opinion. I don't think anybody. I think Georgia's going to go undefeated this year. Christian, just throwing it out there. I think Georgia's going to go on. I think Georgia's going to go undefeated this year. They look hungry, man. They look hungry, man.
I could see that because, I look at Georgia and they're kind of playing with a chip on their shoulder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think the key for Georgia, they're going to have to get their running game going because this Tennessee offense has been a buzzsaw this year.
Yeah, and defensively though, Christian. But defensively, they've been Tennessee's got 8 sacks on this year, and they haven't given up 1 sack. Georgia only has 2 sacks so far this year, so that's something to look out for. Can Georgia provide the right amount of pressure to get Joey Aguilar in trouble? I think he can. I think it's going to be key what Chris Brazil and Mike Matthews do, especially on the outside. Braylon Staley, especially those 3 guys. If they can really test, the secondary of Georgia and kind of get open, because if we're talking about those guys can lock them down on the outside for Georgia, I think that Georgia defense is going to get right to Joey Aguilar and cause some havoc.
One thing I remember from that 2022 matchup, when I previewed it the first time, um, Georgia disguised a lot of their defensive looks, and they did it brilliantly. And how did they do it? They turned
Mhm.
linebacker coverages. So Kirby had the linebackers playing as if they were playing back in coverage, and then they turned those linebackers into quarterback spies, and then it confused Hendon Hooker at that time. I could see them doing something like that for Joey Aguilar. No, he may not be the mobile threat that Hendon was, but you got to keep him in the pocket, and you got to do something to throw off a high octane offense somehow, some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys to look out for on the Tennessee. I mean, the Tennessee's defensive line is pretty damn good. One guy to look out for is Joshua Joseph. He leads them in sacks with 2 sacks. He's got a forced fumble on the season, a pass deflection. I mean, he's one of their leaders on the defensive line. And that line is big. They're fast. They're strong. They're athletic. They're bendy. They can get it. They can get after it. So Georgia's Gunnar Stockton's going to have to get on the edge and make some plays with his feet and his arm. But I think Georgia's going to go into Tennessee and win that football game and against Rocky Top. So watch out for that when that one comes down at 2:30, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, moving on to our Week 3 Heisman rankings and a little changes here as Garrett Nussmeier still at the top. And John Mateer moves all the way to number 2 here on the list. He was just phenomenal this past week. I mean, John Mateer really, when you get a win like that against Michigan, a story program against a pretty decent defense. I can't do nothing but hang my hat off to him. He was pretty phenomenal. And then the third on the list, we got Carson Beck from Miami. He doesn't change. And then moving all the way up, he wasn't even on the list last week, but Dante Moore from Oregon. And I'll say this right now, Oregon hung 69 points on the team, right? And you would think, oh, was that team from the FCS? No, that team was Oklahoma State from the Big 12. They had 69 points on Oklahoma State. If damn Mike Gundy ain't got fired yet, damn it, he should be fired. And Dante Moore was 16 to 21 last week for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns, 76% completion percentage. He looks like the next great Oregon quarterback to come and play for Dan Lanning there. And we all know how good Dante Moore was. I mean, he just wasn't in the right situation at UCLA. But I think this year, and then he transferred in last year, but sat behind Dylan Gabriel. But this season, Dante Moore is taking the reins, and looks like he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback. For the rest of the season. And then number 5, we got Arch Manning as well. Got to keep him in the top 5 because he had a bounce back game last week. I think we'll continue to monitor his situation. But I think the Ohio State game might be a one-off, but we'll continue to monitor Arch Manning's situation as he might move up in the ranks. He's got to really do something special. You got some special quarterbacks sitting up here. And then my dark horse is Lenore Sellers. He's another special quarterback as well at the SEC. So, man, it's a lot of good quarterbacks. I mean, we got golly, dude. We got 4 quarterbacks in the top 6 rankings that are from the SEC. I mean, it's pretty incredible. SEC's got a lot of talent here. And I mean, I think last week I had Gunnar Stockton. I think I had Gunnar Stockton on the radar as well. So, I mean, we got a lot of good quarterbacks. Joey Aguilar is a great quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC that, DJ Lagway is another guy. So, I mean, we got a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC that this year. And I talked about it last week, and then they ran a little special. I didn't know ESPN was going to do this or anybody was going to do this, but I talked about how this year was like the year of like the quarterback, right? Like I came out and I said, this year has a significant amount of talent at the quarterback position in college football, and you're starting to see it. You see it in the Heisman rankings. There's no other position but quarterback here in the Heisman rankings, and there's just a lot of really, really good quarterbacks out there, freshmen, sophomores, you name it, that are out here at the quarterback position. Anybody you want to give a shout out to that you might want to look out for on the Heisman rankings?
I actually agree with this entire list, Izzy. I will probably swap Carson and put him at 2 and put John Mateer down a little bit
Mm.
more because what I've seen from Carson Beck so far, remember what I said? I said it to you prior to the Notre Dame game. Which version of him are you going to get? In the last week against Bethune-Cookman, you he went 22 or 24. We're talking 2 incompletions. So it's just the efficiency, but most importantly, he just looks like he's playing football at a free flowing level. Like he's not worried about anything. He could just go in there and because the SEC, yeah, you got to have a backbone to play in the SEC. He's now playing in the ACC in Miami. Miami looks good, and I think the sport as a whole is better when Miami is relevant again.
No, yeah, absolutely. We talked about that last week as well. I mean, it's relevant when all Florida teams are rocking and rolling. When Florida's good, Florida State's good, Miami's good. But we just need Florida to be back in there, and I mean we're talking about the trifecta, right? So 3-story programs being good for that state. So, but anyways, that's been a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World. As we bring the heat here for college football showdown. Please make sure to watch out for Christian's preview for Georgia and Tennessee, hour before game time. You guys don't want to miss that. Hot content as well. And before we get up out of here, just want to say I know that we didn't have a podcast yesterday, but I want to give a special. I don't want to say shout out, but I just want to give my special thoughts and prayers to all the victims of the 9/11 attacks. So we're all thinking of all the families and all the victims that happened in that tragic attack.
Yeah, most
You
definitely.
know,
I mean,
yeah,
I was in Illinois when
24 years ago.
I was in Illinois when this happened, Izzy, and to be back here, living back home on the anniversary of it is
Yeah.
it's real. It truly is, and I mean, just a lot of love, a lot of light, and a lot of blessings to those families. I mean, I can't even imagine you're leaving home and then you don't unfortunately come back home that night
Mhm.
because of unfortunate terrorism. But nah, man, like I said, just a lot of love, a lot of light, a lot of prosperity and blessings to those who who were impacted that day. I've been over there by the World Trade
World
Memorial.
Trade Center. Yeah.
It's truly it's it's emotional. I'll leave it at that. It really is. But nah, I'm so glad you said that, man. Yeah, just crazy that next year will be 25 years that this happened
Yeah.
like that. That is just wow. Is all
Yeah,
I
it's one of those. It's one of those moments in history where it's like, where were you on September 11th?
man. You
Everybody
know what?
always asks, where was I? Where were you?
So,
Where were you?
Izzy, let's talk about that. Where were you when September 11th happened?
Oh, so I was in. I want to say I was 11. Oh no, I was 11 years old. So I was in sixth grade at the time.
Okay.
So I was in sixth grade, and I just remember all the teachers going crazy in the hallways. Mom's comes, picks me up early. She had just dropped me off. Right, she had just dropped. Actually, before we left, though, before we left the school, we saw it on the news, and we didn't think much of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I had a TV in my room, so I saw it. I always watch the news. I had Fox 32 all the time on my TV, and I saw it. I saw it live. That first time, and then when the plane hit and whatever, and then my mom still took me to school, and they didn't really think not much of it. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
then once they found news that another plane hit, and then there was other shit happening, my moms came and picked me up, and all the other moms and dads came and picked their kids up and stuff like that. And it was just teachers was in the hallway crying, and it was frantic, and people thought that there was going to be a terrorist attack in Chicago that day, and it was just one of those scary times as a nation at the time. And I'm always going to remember that experience on that day, because I was 11, still in grammar school, middle school at the time, and it was just one of those things where, as an adult, you kind of take I don't want to say appreciation for life, but yeah, you take a little bit more appreciation for life as an adult. because those people that tragically lost their lives were going to work 9 to 5, going to provide for their family, and they didn't come home to their loved ones that day. You know, it's
Yeah.
really sour.
I was um I was on the way to school the day it happened. Man, I was in the fifth grade, College Shore Elementary, Naperville. Um, and before I get out the car, I hear, man, there's been a plane crash into a building in New York City. And I'm like, man, immediately the first thing I think of is my family. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So not only that, they reported it wrong and said a plane hit the Empire State Building. I'm like, nah, that can't be right. And they corrected themselves and they said the World Trade Center. And man, it was just mayhem that day with both towers going down, a plane hitting the Pentagon, a plane crashing into
Crashing in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Pennsylvania. And I mean, everything was canceled. I remember the NFL being canceled that week. Like, man, the world was just in complete.
World stop.
The world really did stop. Yeah, it's just crazy to think, man, that it happened 24 years ago, and it's like, wow, kids who didn't even get to meet their parents yet, unfortunately. So yeah, man, you send a lot of love and your prayers to those impacted, because I know for a fact that that will never get easy for them, no matter how many years goes on.
And it's something that we'll talk about for in the echoes of time, right? We talk about Pearl Harbor, right, all the time, right? Um, and then we talk about 9/11. Those are like the two terrorist attacks that we talk about the most, when it comes down to it, in this country. And it's one of those historical events that, like I said, man, our generation is always going to say, where were you? Where were you at when that happened? And how were you impacted? And stuff like that. And like I said, whoever was directly impacted, my thoughts and prayers, our thoughts and prayers from Prime Sports World,
Absolutely, absolutely. I think
go
you say that.
out to you.
Yeah, I think you say that on behalf for both of us, Izzy.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, that's been a wrap. We'll see you guys next week, Monday, for the NFL review show. So you guys don't want to miss that hot content as football is back. And as I like to wrap up this show, man, and I hate I had to end it on a somber note, but it was a right note. But in case I miss you guys, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
And he just threw that thing off the backboard, Tracy McGrady in the All-Star Game 2002, just for me to say, holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy, and we'll check you guys out later. Peace out and have a great night, man.